UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I'm your host for today, Justin Oser, and joining me are my co-hosts, Brandon Shamatala and Chrissie De Clerck-Szilagyi. So, Brandon, did you bring any snacks?
I did, actually, yes. I actually got my chips and dip here. Just 1 second. Yeah.
I was hoping you would.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm going to need a drink here. Just 1 second here. I'm good.
We've already lost half our listeners. Okay, so you're doing good overall, which is great. All right, so Chrissie, tell me why dysfunction is our team.
Oh, that's just obvious to anybody who listens. It just works so well.
It's because people like me are eating and drinking during the podcast.
You know, dysfunction was the team for Lower Decks, but we've been more on the same page for
Actually, that's true, yeah.
About that, So maybe Function is the team now until we get Dysfunctional for Lower Deck Season 2. Anyway, so glad you guys are doing well. So also join with us today is a special guest. It's meteorologist Katie Nickolaou. Welcome to Infinite Diversity.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So I think that I first found out about you and your Star Trek fandom from one of these fandom forecasts you do on the TV station where you do the weather. And I think you had done it just before Star Trek Picard, and you were dressed up in, a kind of TNG era uniform, and that was a lot of fun. So kind of tell us, I guess, where you do the weather on TV and those fandom forecasts and how that started and what that's like.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a meteorologist in Sioux City, Iowa, and I work mornings, which means I go to work at 2 a.m., which has been a bit of a struggle. But it also gives me the freedom to go wild on my side projects. And one day last fall, I thought, I could do the weather for TV shows. Why not? These are fictional places. And all of a sudden, within a day, it just snowballed together. And I started doing them. I did one for Star Trek. I did one for Star Wars, for DuckTales. I'm actually just finished up one today. I just got back from 2 hours of recording in the studio because I can't sing to save my life, but it's going to be great. So naturally, when it came to the Star Trek one, I spent so much time making sure everything was like along with canon. Do you have the Celsius or Fahrenheit, kph, mph, all of that? And it just came together, and I thought this will be fun for me. And then a bunch of other people thought it was cool too. And now I have a really awesome community built around them.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Yeah, I think I saw that in January right before Picard premiered. And then you've also been guesting a few times on Positively Trek with our friends Bruce Gibson and Dan Gunther talking about Discovery there. So I thought it would be fun to have you talk Discovery here. So
I'm glad you clarified that because I was really confused. I misread the article, our outline here, and I thought it said meteorologist. And I was like, sweet. We're going to talk about barbecue.
Yes, I'm a carnivore.
Yeah, that's a job, just eating meat 8 hours a day.
I bet you they have that somewhere in the world.
Could be. So Katie, tell us also about your Star Trek fandom. Like, how did you get started being into Star Trek and all that?
Absolutely. I'm still a bit of a youngin'. I'm only 24 now. Oh, wow. I got to get used to that age. Just had the birthday. But I started back when I was in middle school, so about maybe 10, 15 years ago. And it was at a time when I had horrible anxiety. I wouldn't leave my house. Like it was really bad. And then by just happenstance, my dad was watching an episode of The Next Generation, Gambit. No one starts watching Star Trek with Gambit. No. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
But I started out and I watched...
It's a pirate show. It's a pirate show every week.
Exactly. I saw that. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is swashbuckling space fun. And so I watched part 2. And I was like, okay, now I want to know more. So I went back and I watched. I still had the original sheet of every episode, and I highlighted how much I liked it next to each episode. And it just snowballed from there. I just binged all of Voyager in one summer, I think it was. Wow. And I completely fell in love with it. And I've seen every episode now, at least twice, I think.
Excellent.
So it's just something, I love it so much. And it helped me personally. And I think it probably helps out a lot more people too.
Spreadsheets and rating and keeping track of, that's my type of fandom. Yeah.
Heck yes.
Yeah.
And it's totally on par with everything else in the fandom. It's just perfectly geeky.
Yeah, like I don't have a spreadsheet for like episodes, but I totally have a spreadsheet for the novels that I've read because it takes a while I've read almost 350 of them, so I want to keep track of the ones I've read and make sure I don't reread them or whatever. So, but that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that, but it does make us feel old to know that you were in middle school 10 or 15 years ago. Yeah. So. Because we're a bit older than you are. But
you don't look it. Or at least sound it.
Oh, okay. I'll take that. So, excellent. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us here. So, normally at this time we might talk about news, but, the last couple of weeks there really hasn't been much significant news to talk about. So, again, we'll just dive right into the episode. So, this week, we're talking about Season 3, Episode 5 of Discovery, Die Trying. So we'll start out with kind of initial thoughts and first impressions. And Katie, since you're our guest, I'll start with you. But because this is your first time talking Discovery on this podcast, tell us kind of overall what you think of Discovery, and then maybe kind of generally what you think of this episode.
With Discovery, I don't know. It's a new form of Star Trek. I grew up, when I got into Star Trek, there was nothing. We just got the JJ movies, and that was it. So I'm just happy to have Star Trek on air, and that's been my mentality all the way through. But yeah, when the series started, I was a little skeptical. Season 2, Pike just fell in love, and now in Season 3, it's more of an open book because they aren't stuck in the confines of canon. And so now that they're moving on in history, I think I'm really excited about it. And the thing about this episode that made that excitement get a little bit more and made me feel a little more comfortable with how Discovery's going is it's not like the overall arc. It is an episodic season right now. You have different storylines. It's not like you have to watch them all in order. You could just pop in and watch one. And the entire episode as a whole, I loved it. But the more important thing is I like that they're returning to basic Star Trek episode by episode stories.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, and you do see. I think they were starting to do that a bit more in Season 2, but it's much more pronounced, I think, in Season 3, where there is a certain thing in there where there's beginning and middle and end to that part of the story. There's still an overarching story, but it's not like the 3 or 4 different things that are constantly going, and you don't know what the resolution is. So that's a good point. But yeah, glad you loved the episode. So, Brandon, tell us what you thought of this episode and why you agree with me, whatever I say.
Well, honestly, I think it was a pretty darn good episode. I watched it. I loved it right away. There was some really great stuff in it, and it was a lot of fun. There's so much traditional Star Trek in this, right? We got a crisis. We got to solve it. We got to go off and use our brains for science, and then we solve it and come back, and it's great. I don't know. It's fantastic. This is really firing on all cylinders here. I'm loving it.
Oh, that's awesome. So Function will be the team this episode. Great. Okay, so Chrissie, what did you think? Kind of initial thoughts on this episode?
I'll just echo what you guys have been saying. I think it was wonderful, and I don't trust 32nd century Starfleet. That's my
interesting. We will definitely get into that because I have some thoughts on that. But okay, so yeah, I'll give my initial thoughts. I did love this episode. I think when I first saw it, there's a lot to take in. I mean, you're right, Brendan. Like, there is kind of this part that we'll talk about where there's a mission to go on. You're trying to figure out what's going on, and then you kind of come back. But then there's kind of adjusting to being in the seeing Starfleet of the 32nd century, and we'll talk about it right off the bat, like all these ships that you see and all this advanced technology. So it was like a lot to take in. So I knew I really liked it, but I had to kind of like process it, and rewatching it really helped. But yeah, I loved it, and I love what they're doing this season. I don't think they've had a miss yet. So, all right, let's get into it, because where we start off is the Discovery arrives at the coordinates that Adira has given them through the former host Senatol. And we see there's this distortion field, and they kind of come up to that and go in, and you see what I think is really amazing looking thing going on that's keeping up this distortion field. And there's tons and tons of ships there, like many Easter eggs and references and all of that. I was just kind of looking at this kind of in wonder, just seeing like everything that it had become. But I just want to get like for that opening scene impression. So Katie, what did you think of that?
I thought, finally, new technology. It's not just the holodeck. It's not just the transport. It's not a new ship. It's actually new tech. And that goes back to going ahead in time, is now you have a whole playground that you can create. And I loved it. And then all of a sudden I'm snapped back when I see the Voyager J, and I'm like, what? And then of course you have the Nog right back to back. It's like,
yes.
Oh my gosh, they're finally listening to the fans.
Mm-hmm. This whole season has been a response to things that fans have been saying about the show, right? Like there's a complete and total tonal shift in this season, and I really do believe that this is because they're listening to what the fandom is saying and responding accordingly. You know, I tweeted out the other day, you know, that I think that Michelle Paradise is the best thing to happen to Star Trek since Ira Steven Behr. You know, we've got some really great stuff going on here, and I believe that she's the reason that we've got this going on. And bravo, like it's really, really great stuff going on here.
Awesome, yeah. Chrissy, impressions on the opening scene?
I loved how it was. There were parts of it that were very reminiscent of the motion picture. When you got the beauty kind of shots, and there's a little robot. And...
Like, I didn't think of the motion picture in that. I thought of it in a later scene, which we'll get to. But yeah, interesting. But yeah, you're right. Like you're seeing it, and you're like, whoa, what is all this? Right? Like the same way that in 1979, people were like, whoa, look at the detail you can see on this one ship. We're like, whoa, look at all the tons of ships, right?
Yes. And but the other thing that I thought of while I was watching this was how many people went with them on Discovery? I mean, at the end
it was 80 something, wasn't it?
I think it would. They said they gave a number of 80 something. I think it was 88.
And I guess I must have missed that at some point, because I figured at the end of season 2 that they had as loose of a skeleton crew, as small of a skeleton crew as they could.
That's what I thought as well.
Okay, so good.
Season 2 was done,
because it seems like there's a lot of people who would not have known personally Burnham and what was going on who were there.
Well, so the impression that I got was that, like, at the end of season 2, people got a choice. Some people went, some people didn't. Right. We focused on, like, here's the group of people that agreed immediately because they knew Burnham to go into the future. But I think they offered it to whoever else, and that many people actually came along. I didn't get the sense at season 2 that it was a skeleton crew going, just that we were tending to focus on that, and we don't like, and usually in Star Trek, we don't see like 100 people at a time or something like that.
No, I guess I just,
okay.
I had envisioned something akin to Search for Spock.
Star Trek 3.
Yeah, when they take the ship.
Yeah. Just that it was just a few of them that went. That's the impression that I got too at the end of season 2. So when they started talking about 80 some people, I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that. So I agree with you on that impression, Chris.
That was actually fewer than I expected, but okay.
Well, I hope they deal with that, because I think there's, I mean, we're dealing with the issue of the separation with the core group, but I think there's going to be people who end up regretting having made that choice, and that would be an interesting thing to explore. So,
yeah.
It would be, yeah. So I wanted to talk about a few things in this scene, because I think, as we've alluded to, there's a lot that's going on. I also, like you, Katie, was like, oh my god, it's a descendant of Voyager. And it's also like an indirect Enterprise reference because it's the J. But I saw some people who were like, they shouldn't know anything about Voyager, but I don't think that they do. I think they're just seeing that this is a ship that's been going on for a while, and there's got to be some kind of story.
Yeah, I agree with that interpretation.
Sense you got, yeah. Yeah, because
when you get that far in the alphabet, there's definitely something about that ship that makes it special.
Right. It also made me think, because the first time we see, I think, that kind of thing where there's a successor in the alphabet is Star Trek 4 when you are introduced to Enterprise A. But I think this is saying, like, there is some kind of tradition that they've had for really important ships to keep adding letters to it, and we just haven't seen those or something. But anyway, I love that. And also, because I like to look at the reviews, I think TrekCore talked to CBS. They said that the Voyager J is also Intrepid class, like the original Voyager, so it kept the class name.
It looked to me. It looked more to me like what was the ship that they came across in the season 4 finale?
Oh yeah. That was the slipstream ship,
yeah.
the Dauntless.
The Dauntless. I realized that turned out to be a hologram and whatnot, but it looked more like that to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I could see. I mean, it's supposed to be an evolution over many hundreds of years, but I thought that was interesting. Also, the USS Nog, I totally missed it the first time, and then I saw the references, and I was like, oh my goodness. I think it's a really touching tribute to Aaron Eisenberg, and I think they would also confirm with CBS it's Eisenberg class, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there was a lot that was kind of going on in that scene, and I think it was really wondrous. But let's kind of talk about what happens when they get onto what is kind of Starfleet and Federation headquarters. So I think
let me just interrupt for a second because I wanted to talk about something in that opening scene. So because I'm the negative Nancy here, right? So
sometimes
okay, so. I love Star Trek. I love Star Trek Voyager. But when I saw the Voyager J, I rolled my eyes pretty hard, okay? And the reason I rolled my eyes pretty hard is because specifically it was the letter J. I think it'd have been any letter before the letter J in the alphabet, and I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But to me, it's just like, yeah, Voyager's just as good as Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation, so we're going to have just the same letter as them. And I'm like,
So it's going to be just as good as the alternate timeline that had an Enterprise J, which then was wiped away.
Well, I think we got the Enterprise J now. The Enterprise J was in the future, right? So
it was in an alternate future, so we don't know.
Isn't
anyway,
the game?
I
isn't that Star Trek Online or one of those?
No. The Enterprise J is in. It's one of the episodes with Daniels in season 3 during the Xindi War, where he takes them into this alternate future, and they have to fight the sphere builders.
Yeah. Isn't it the one where he takes like the aquatic ship and he's about to sacrifice himself? And he's like, dude, don't do it. Look at this.
That's a you know what? I think you're right. It is that episode. I was just trying to remember the name of the episode and
Azadi.
Is it Azadi
Probably
Prime?
It was the one before Azadi Prime.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Might as well look it up now and find out. Yeah, is Azadi Prime.
But
okay. I guess I can see that. That's a minor thing though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that there's more. I mean, like the other thing is that of course, every ship we've ever had a crew with, like, is going to have an A or a B or a C. Like even when we got to the New Frontier novels, we ended up with an Excalibur A, right? It's just like, it's just like, instead of destroying all these shifts, just don't have to destroy them every single time. And I realize after 800 years, we're going to have an evolution of ships. But it's just, I don't know, I just rolled my eyes at the J, but that's just me. So.
What would make you roll your eyes more is if Harry Kim was still an ensign on that.
He probably is.
He somehow took his neurological pattern and embedded it and integrated it into the biopads on the ship.
Didn't you see that ship in the background, the USS Ensign Kim?
Forever a tribute.
Yeah. I mean, I think it means, well, for the Nog, I think it means he did some amazing
Yeah,
things.
absolutely.
But anyway,
that was a beautiful tribute.
Which is cool, yeah. Okay, anything else before we get to actual, Starfleet headquarters?
That's a flying rainforest.
I love the flying rainforest. Don't make fun of it.
I like that. It reminded me of
that was
the new
cool.
DS9 in the novels.
Yes.
And it reminded me a bit of...
Oh, I could see that. Yeah,
the station and Beyond. I can't think of what the name of it was, but
yes, yeah. Oh my god, I can't even remember the name either.
I know
something town, the Georgetown or something like that.
Yorktown,
yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I could see that. No, I thought that was cool because so there are all these ships around, right, that power this distortion field to hide it. But then there's got to be a place for people to live. Then there is a reference that the civilian Federation government is there, so they're anyway. Which was cool.
I'm only going to complain about 8 more things. I'm kidding. 2 more things, maybe 3.
I will count down and only give you 2. Okay. So then I think we go on to what is kind of Starfleet headquarters, and we see this Admiral Vance, who is basically, and I'm trying to remember because I think it goes back and forth with the discussions that Saru and Burnham have. So Vance is very skeptical. I think rightly so. I mean, you mentioned, Chrissy, that you don't quite like the Federation as much in the 32nd century. I like that they're being reasonable. Like, okay, you're telling me this story and you have 0 evidence, so I really don't know what to think of you right now. So you're kind of on probation or whatever. But I don't know. I thought that it was interesting thinking about the Starfleet having this headquarters in space instead of in San Francisco, right, which was what we're so used to seeing in Star Trek. So it's kind of different, and they've had the burn that's happened, and they're really kind of I think they're just kind of cautious about things, but I just wanted to see what you guys thought about kind of what we're seeing of Starfleet at this headquarters, maybe Admiral Vance and Lieutenant Willa and like the people that are around them. Katie, like, what did you think when we met these
Vance
people?
is a jerk.
You think so? I think he's just going along with the protocol, but
he's so icy. Like, even, I don't know. I feel like if someone just popped up and said, guys, I'm from 800 years in the past, or however ungodly amount of time has passed, you'd be like, wait, what? Show some emotion, maybe?
Well, but think about this. Let's say someone popped up and they were from 800 years in the past, and they are revealing that to someone that's like the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the U.S. military, right? Like, they would probably have a reaction that would be like, I'm very skeptical, show me something. I don't know if they get very emotional, like, and we need to think of it kind of on that level, I think.
I don't know. It's tough with that one. I have a little bit of tough, I don't know, toughness is the word I'm looking for. I'm having a tough time with this a little bit because on one hand, yes, I understand the skepticism, but on the other hand, I don't understand the skepticism because they have a record of the ship. They have the names of the crew. They know that the ship disappeared at a specific time, which they have corroborated, that just the records don't match. They know about time travel. They know that time travel exists, right? And all of this stuff. So, like, yes, at that one point, it's like, okay.
But think of it this way, like, Starfleet has seen some incredibly crazy stuff in its time, right? And it's not without reason to think that there might be some kind of elaborate thing going on in order to, I don't know, find out something about their defenses or destroy them from the inside or something. I think they have to be very skeptical about this thing that has no evidence that they can see. Like, our records show it was destroyed a long time ago, and all of your evidence isn't there. So,
but they've got a Kelpian on board, right? Which, like, they
which is unusual.
You know, like, which is unusual. There was a Kelpian on Discovery at the time. Like, it's just like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, while I understand the skepticism, I also don't understand the skepticism. So I don't have a problem with it, but I'm also like, even like Willa was being kind of dickish where she's like, let's get this antique going. So they know it's old, right? They know the ship is old.
Exactly.
Okay.
Plus, can't they do some sort of temporal scan? Yes. We've seen that happen in so many other series. Like, just, boop, oh, hey, look, those atoms are old.
This is from this. Yeah, it's actually a very good point. Yeah, they've done that.
Actually, now that you mention it, one thing I'm surprised that may not have been brought up is, like, surely from Discovery's sensors, they have some kind of visual record or something that they brought along with them.
Yeah. But, it's not compatible.
But I don't know. I like this. I like the skepticism. It felt realistic to me that they would want to kind of tread lightly on it. But I mean, also, like, and we'll get into it, they're allowed to do this mission. They come back. They're successful. It's like, okay, we're good now. Which I think if you were just like undyingly skeptical, you wouldn't even let them go that far. Mm-hmm. So I think they towed a bit of a line. But
we got some really interesting information in here that I wanted to ask this question on. So Vance says that we're down to, what did he say, 30 member worlds?
Yeah.
38 member worlds. I can't read my own writing. Down from 350. Yeah. Now the question is, are they actually no longer Starfleet? Or are we going to maybe come across some of these planets and they just have been out of contact with them for so long, and they'll end up like that guy from the first episode where he's like, no, we've been doing the Starfleet thing the whole time. We're totally Starfleet. We've been totally here the long time. So they're sitting here in this area isolated, thinking they don't have Starfleet. Yet when they start to encounter these other worlds, they're going to realize that they've actually got all of these allies out there that they didn't even know they had.
I think that's
probably going to happen. But I got this sense from the 38 that they are in regular contact and they know that they're still kind of part of the Federation, and it's the others that they've lost contact with that maybe you'll come across.
And the others could probably do what they've done and actually get like little clusters of 30 worlds that are nearby and 30 worlds that are nearby. And so you'll find these pods of Federation that just need some subspace networks so they can actually rework.
Yeah, I think that's going to be what we find.
Mm-hmm. That could be. But it was interesting because 38 was more than I thought, right? I think there had been speculation from the flag that you see in the first episode. Maybe it was just 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just the founding members or something like that. 38 was actually more than I thought. I was like, oh, there's more here than I thought because people that are cut off think that it's gone.
Well, the rest of those ones, like, there's only the 5 major ones on the flag there because the rest of them don't have enough electoral votes to actually matter.
Yeah.
I see. We need to see how Federation elections work. That's a whole other thing that they've addressed in the novels, but never on
Straight
screen.
popular vote. That's what they do.
You know they will not even touch that on screen.
I don't know. But you're right, Brandon. It is interesting that they were giving this information. Like, there's the 38 member worlds, but the subspace relays aren't up, so we don't know. But I mean, clearly, Discovery could jump around and be like, "Hey guys, how's it going?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Federation's back." They could be like the conduit, but also like, I think what happens at a point in this episode is Vance is like, "Okay, we need you for this mission. We'll use the Discovery to jump." But I would have thought the first thing they would have said is like, "This is great. Let's take it apart and see how we can make more."
They kind of did, though.
I'm surprised that. Well, no, I think Vance was saying at a certain point that they wanted to find out more about it and split up the crew. But yeah, maybe they were going there.
At one point, he said, "Get out the specs and all of that." And I felt like that was with the intention
to be able to fly it.
How to duplicate it? Yes, fly it, but also duplicate it.
Okay, interesting. I guess we'll see. But like, it is interesting. So there is kind of this back and forth with Saru, Burnham, and Vance. I have to say, like, what Adira is also there and just kind of disappears for the rest of the episode. I wish we would have seen more, but maybe next time.
That's going to be important, I think.
I think so, because Adira is going to get these diagnostic scans or whatever, and yeah, we don't know what that means
Also,
yet.
that's another. That's the place for me that corroborates what you said, Katie, about the Admiral being a jerk, because he's all nice and friendly, and he's like, "No, you need to understand that we are not familiar." Like, okay, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, he should know.
When has that been a problem for Starfleet?
Right. Yeah. He should know what Trill are. I mean, like Trill aren't a secret anymore, so he'd know certain things. But I don't know if we want to keep talking about Vance here, but he said, I think this happened later in the episode. I just got like a bunch of notes that I've kind of corralled all together here on paper. But this might be later in the episode when he's talking about the war that the Federation went through. Do you want to talk about that right now?
The War of the Temporal Accords. Yeah.
Sure. So he says that they spent most of the 30th century in a war to uphold the Temporal Accords. Now, I'm not quite sure how to take that. Okay, so the most of the 30th century, so that would be the 2900s, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so do you think then that war is done now?
I think so, based on what I think we heard before that there was that war and that time travel's been outlawed and they destroyed the time travel equipment. So as far as we know, I think it's over. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you go back to Enterprise, when it's all resolved with the Xindi and everything, they're like, "Oh, hey, look, the timeline's restoring itself. Right. Everything's nice and golden." Like, I imagine that's probably what happened in the 29th.
Because I was wondering if, like, for him to say most of the 30th century, I mean, I initially, when I first heard that, I misinterpreted that to be, like, the year 3000 and on. Most of the year 3000 is on. That's what I initially misunderstood it. And so, to me, I got the impression that they were, like, still doing this war. And then I'm like, that means that if they were still doing this war, then time travel is still existing and they're fighting it. Which led me to the thought that the burn would have been created by time travel somehow.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Which I could be wrong. So, because I literally took when he said 30th century as meaning the years 3000 and on.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
Well, it would be 2900 forward, but.
Yeah.
Right. We are told in one of the episodes, I was looking for the reference, but that even before the burn, there was something that happened that reduced the supply of dilithium. But I don't think we've been told what that is either.
No.
So.
And they're not giving us anything. They're like, I got 6 theories, but I'm telling you none of them.
Yeah.
Got more theories than ships in the fleet.
Yeah.
I mean, which I think is realistic, right? That something might happen and you're like, I wish I knew what happened, but I just don't have the evidence or we haven't been able to gather it. We've been cut off. But sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I completely see where you're coming from, Brandon. And I think there is a possibility that some of this is still going on because of the oddly enough, the conjugation of the verb. Okay. We have been involved in this for most of the 30th century. Not we were. Okay.
Right.
It's an ongoing past tense. So that might just be how he said it, or it could be that it is continuing in places. He's not telling them much of anything, which to some extent, there's a good reason for that. But then on the other side, you're like, what else is going on?
On the other hand, we're the audience. Tell us.
Yes.
Yeah.
You need to keep watching.
I want to know.
Can't tell you everything in this episode. Okay, so, I mean, is there anything... I mean, I think we may get more into these parts with Vance and what he's saying, but anything else in that kind of initial scene when they meet and don't get the warmest of receptions?
So I had to do a double take because I thought it was the guy from Handmaid's Tale.
The main guy? I haven't seen Handmaid's Tale.
Not important. Anyway.
I don't know who that is.
Oded Fair. He's from The Mummy. I know
Yes.
him from Sleeper Cell, which is a fantastic show on...
Yeah. But I mean, I think regardless of what you think about like how it's written and the reception they're getting, I think he did a really good job at portraying like that
Definitely.
attitude. I think he's a really good actor.
He did say something else, though, that's, while we got nothing on this episode, is going to be big. So this Emerald Chain,
Oh, yeah.
the Andorian
the Emerald
Orion
Chain.
Syndicate, and with a guy leading them called Osira. Like, that's
we're
interesting.
going to see Osira later, right?
Yeah, we're definitely going to see that person. And I mean, this Andorian Orion Syndicate, that's who Book's been working for, and Burnham worked for a year, so...
That's right. So, yeah, they're setting up something with that, which is interesting. They're a big player. So, let's keep going here. I think I had something in the outline about Saru and Burnham, because I think it's interesting to see in this episode kind of how they're working together, and that Burnham is... Well, let me set the stage this way first, I guess. So I think in that opening scene, they see there are these aliens, the Keeley, that are having this issue, and they kind of figure out they need to find this kind of seed vault ship. And, Discovery wants to help, but they're like, no, we don't need your help. It's okay. But then Burnham and Saru are talking on the Discovery, and Burnham, I think, is making the suggestion to basically like steal some log information to find out what they need. And I think Saru is like, yeah, we just can't do that. So anyway, I think this is a kind of a continuation of what we saw in a previous episode with Saru being like a little skeptical of Burnham and trying to like rein her in certain things. But I wanted to see what you guys kind of thought about that in this episode. So, Katie?
I think Saru's definitely more the reserved kind of captain, more of a callback to Picard, like, okay, we're playing it by the books, we're making sure everything's okay. And then you get Burnham, who is like Tom Paris mixed with Riker and a little bit of swashbuckling Quark in it, I think, too. And she's just like, yo, let's go do this. Why not? I'll go grab this. You grab that. We meet back up. Boom. And so it's going to be an interesting dynamic between the two to see going on which personality will dominate. Because right now it seems like it's tilted more towards Burnham. And I think Saru's going to eventually kind of clap back and just be like, you can't do this.
Well, here's the really interesting thing, because at the very beginning of Discovery, Saru was the one who was always afraid and had to keep his fear under control. And as I think about the conversation that they were having about this, Burnham says at one point that the crew could be pulled apart and they may not recover. She's afraid of the thing that could happen, so she's trying to take this action because of that. So I think it's an interesting kind of reversal where Saru is the calm, like, okay, we just need to do this the right way. And Burnham is kind of working from fear, it seems like. At least that's my interpretation. Chrissy or Brandon, like, what do you think about this interaction we're getting?
Yeah, I can see where she's working from a fear of what might happen to them, but I also feel like that falls under the category of a good first officer. That's her job to make sure that the crew is functioning correctly. And
it's true, but as the first officer, she's putting forward something that Saru feels like she shouldn't be putting forward,
but
right?
How often do we see disagreements? It's like, oh, we should do it this way. I had Best of Both Worlds on today while I was grading forever, and it's Shelby. She's out there. I'm going to do this thing, and Riker's, if you end run on me again, I'll snap you back so hard you think you're a first year cadet, and all of that. But
that's true. Although that's an end run around the chain of command. That's not trying to steal.
Oh no, understood. Understood. Just
it's interesting.
The feel.
But you're
Shelby.
right. There's a history of
But the other thing that hit me with this too was that is a classic tactic when somebody comes into a situation and you want to make sure that they can't operate together against you. Okay, so like to use Alexander. Okay, Alexander the Great goes into Persia. Okay, defeats the Persians.
I thought you were talking about Worf's son.
Yeah, exactly. For a second,
yes.
Well, he is known as Alexander the Great as well in some fan circles. Yes.
Yes, the USS Alexander
Rozhenko.
I'm quite sure
Sorry,
that he's named after the Macedonian king, but that's a different issue.
Okay.
Yes.
Fun fact, I'm also half Macedonian. Half Scottish, half
That's
Macedonian.
a hell of a combination.
Interesting.
I love it.
Oh, you know it. My hair is
I believe it.
uncontrollable. Same with the temper. Explains my job.
There you go. Yeah. I lost my train. Oh, right. Okay. So
Alexander the Great, yeah.
Alexander the Great, Caesar, pick a general, okay, who wanted to integrate enemy forces into their own forces. Okay. So Alexander did two things. The infantry went at the front. Okay. The people who were going to be at the front of the army killing the people at the next town that they were going to conquer were the people that were most expendable, which is the least skilled people from the previous surrender. Okay. And that does two things. That gets rid of potential enemies, and it saves your own people because they're not at the front of the wave. But the other thing you do, okay, and Alexander did this, and actually Vespasian's a good example of this too. You separate everybody. Okay. If you put people in a situation where they don't know if they can trust the people around them, they aren't going to try to start a mutiny. Just for an extreme example. So that's why he's splitting them up. At least that's how I read it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't read it that way at all, that he thought of them as enemies. But...
Well,
because when I was thinking about, on earth would you split them up? I couldn't find a good reason. That is actually reasonable reasoning.
Thank you. They're an unknown quantity.
That's interesting. Yeah. But here's the thing. Like, the way that Vance presents it is, if you can, I think he says something like, if you can to the effect of like, if you can allay my skepticism, then you'll be reassigned. You won't be considered like criminals or. So I think it was just like, here's a new ship from a long time ago, and we need to assess the crew and their specialties, and you might disperse them among different ships based on what's needed instead of being on this one ship. That's how I took it. But boy, that's a much more hostile way of thinking about it, Chrissy.
Yeah, I didn't read the malice into Vance's comment to try and split up the crew. I didn't read that. Yeah.
Don't read it as malice. Okay. Read it as strategic. Okay. I mentioned Vespasian. Vespasian comes out. He takes over. He's the last of the emperors after the civil wars. After Nero dies, he literally calls in almost the entirety of the Roman army back into the central part of the empire, and then reassigns all of them, because the way he got to where he was because his division of the army, his legions, put him in place, and he wants to make sure nobody else is going to do that. Now, I recognize the admiral is not necessarily worried about being overthrown, but we don't know what's going on. So the easiest way to deal with that unknown quantity is just to make them as quiet as possible.
Yeah, it's such an interesting perspective, because I definitely took almost like the opposite from what Vance was doing, like really well-reasoned, reasonable caution and skepticism based on he doesn't know what's going on. There's crazy stuff that can happen in the Star Trek universe, instead of thinking of it that way. It's really interesting.
I don't think those are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
It can serve both. So you can have very skilled engineers and also getting them away from the other ones. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk about it.
But do we now have two truths existing in one space?
Two truths often exist in one space. I did not care for that.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, but I mean, he meant truth as in like, we have this one thing that says that it's true and this other thing that says that it's true. Only one of them can be true. That's the way I took
Yes,
it.
No, I understand that. It's
very interesting.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting, because I took it very differently, and I liked Vance for being cautious and not being like, sure, yeah, you just showed up and why not? I felt like he was more, I don't know, cautious. Go ahead.
The interesting, I want to add something to this, and I think that this is something that you were thinking about, Chrissy. So the scene with Saru and Michael, where she was like talking about going in, and that line, "Get our hands on," like I love that line so much. But when that scene was happening, I was very torn emotionally on that scene, and I still don't know how to feel about that scene, and I love that, because what Burnham said honestly felt very true to how Star Trek has represented issues like this in the past, because we have a lot of badmirals.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
our crew knows what's good because they're on the front lines and they're in the battle and they know what's going on. And those Badmirals are all in Starfleet and they don't know what's going on. They don't know anything. So when Burnham's like, look, we just need to prove to this guy. So let's get our hands on this information and go do it. Like, I couldn't even at the top of my head point to an episode that I think fits that example. But it does feel very true to the Star Trek that I know. However, when she was saying it, I'm like, that's the wrong thing to be saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when Saru went, get our hands on, I'm like, oh, yeah. And then when he's like, that is a lesson I thought you would have learned by now. I was also thinking that too. Okay, about getting the run around, running around authority and whatnot. So... I don't know, there was a very, very
pinching
interesting
your captain
scene.
and stuff like that, right?
That
Like even from the beginning when Burnham is like, I need to get my way on this and gives the nerve pinch to Georgiou.
That was a very low blow coming from Saru, and I think that indicates the amount of stress he's under. Because Saru is not usually
like that. I didn't take it as
that.
a low blow.
I don't know it's a low blow. I think what Saru is really trying to say is, if you think the best way for us to make this situation work for us is to do something to steal information that they're not going to like and come back and be like, see, we've got the cure, everything's fine, like, then you're wrong. So I think Saru is reading the situation correctly. Like, we need to do this the right way to really prove it, because we are here alone, right, as these people from the 23rd century, and there's all of these other people we have to make alliances with. So we need to do this the right way. And it can't be like you see sometimes in Star Trek, I think, where it's like, you do an end run around or steal something and it's all forgiven because the right result comes out. That's not going to happen here, I think, is what he's saying.
And what she's wanting to do here is very much what she did in the Vulcan Hello.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying that for Saru to say it was something to the effect of, you need to do what the captain says, and I think you would have understood that by now, and that, I think, was the low blow. That was the thing that, the last time you did this, you started a war, so you shut up, that I feel like was not, it was crappy. We don't swear here.
To me, that felt totally command. That was totally command ability of Saru for me, yeah.
But it was... I don't know. It felt... Yeah. Bad. I want to say...
Okay.
I want to say it felt... Here, you can bleep me. It was shitty of him to do that. That's what it felt like.
Oh, okay. Katie, what do you think about this? Because we have different opinions on it.
I kind of, it was a low blow, because I felt like he was hearkening back to the first season. Like, you should know this by now. You can't just, you should have learned your lesson. Are you that stupid, sort of a thing? That's how I read into it, but it couldn't, different culture, so maybe he didn't mean it like that.
I'm not saying he's wrong.
But it's also true a couple episodes before that Burnham and Book kind of like went off with the dilithium with their plan, and I think Saru was disappointed in that, but it was like, all right, I guess it's done. So I think he's also hearkening back to, just recently you did this thing and I talked with you about it and you haven't learned the lesson. I don't think it necessarily needs to go all the way back.
Like, picture this episode had Burnham been in command. She would have gone and tried to get our hands on this thing and whatnot. Like, we would have ended up with a completely different episode, So I really, really loved that scene between the two of them. I thought it was one of the highlights of the episode for me. So,
yeah, that was really good. So, for the next thing that we're going to talk about, I think there's a couple possibilities. I have on here a little part for the Discovery crew being debriefed. Do we want to talk about that, or do we want to get right into the...
I want to ask, why was non-all-captured soldier routine on this? Like, what... Everybody else is answering the characters. Why was the questions... Why was non-all, had a stick up her butt?
I was thinking about that. I kind of took it as she was really, tweaking them and I don't know, trying to have a good time with it or something, but it was unusual. It
just felt weird to me, because everybody else is just answering the question. She's like, "No, I'm here under protest, and just throw me in the brig hologram." I'm like, "What? What? That's not called for."
She's security. She knows her history. She's thinking about Vespasian.
Yeah, probably with the security background, just kind of like, you know what? No, I don't know you. You don't know me, and that's what it's going to say, sort of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I took it from the. It's a different culture for Barzans to do a debriefing than it might be for other species. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I first of all, I love that whole thing. Culver is getting wonderfully sarcastic. Okay, I just
yes.
And you listen to these stories and you're like, yeah, this sounds totally insane when he says it that way. Like, oh yeah, you know, I died and I came back, and this guy who murdered me, we're fine now. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What? It almost felt like a meta commentary on the first two seasons of Discovery as well.
Yes.
It was like, what was this crazy
And then I
thing
got
that
my
happened?
hair blown
Sorry.
out.
You can actually tell. Yeah, you can tell that the actors, like beyond the screen, like you can tell that they're enjoying themselves in that. Like they're just being able to let loose, like, well, I'm doing this and you're doing that. So it just the sass that comes out. I feel like that's not just the character, that is the actors. And they're like, wow.
Yeah.
Just 1 second here. Thank you very much here. Okay, I just got my second set of snacks here.
Very nice.
More drinks around.
Wait, do you want anything to drink? Are you okay
Yes,
over there?
please.
See, I have a cauldron full of Halloween candy because I didn't get any trick-or-treaters.
Yeah.
And I'm staring at it.
Feeling. And that, you know what the worst part of that is?
So-
Usually you take your leftover Halloween candy to work, right? Can't do that now. Can't do that now.
Can't do that
Before
now.
we go on
Just
from
gonna eat
the,
it all.
the debriefings, what bothered me, or essentially the only thing that bothered me about it, was we have the situation where they say, okay, this group has 4 hours to live. And then we have a bunch of debriefings. And then by the time they get back to Discovery, they have 3 hours to live. Okay, and I know I'm being nitpicky here, but couldn't they have said 24
Stop it,
hours?
Brandon. Quit being so picky.
I'm being a Brandon.
Oh, wait, no, that didn't come from me. Holy smokes.
I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Okay.
I guess I could see that. Well, they wanted to see if they could trust them. But Brandon, I'm just curious because I know Reno has not been your favorite character. I thought the part where she was just like snacking was hilarious.
I did too,
Did
yes.
you find that funny?
Yes, I did,
Oh,
yes.
good. So Reno's
That
had a good
was
moment.
totally why. Yeah, had you not brought up the snacks at the beginning, when you introduced me, I was going to say, Justin, I need some snacks. So,
I was going to do that too.
I must have known.
Great minds.
Discovery making you hungry right now. Okay, anyway, I think the debriefings were interesting and kind of fun. And there's another debriefing with Giorgio, which we will get to as a whole separate section because, Brandon, I'm going to make you wait to talk about David Cronin. Okay. Sorry. But one of the things I really do want to talk about is, so I think they convinced them like, okay, you can go on this mission Discovery and there's this seed vault ship, the Tikov, and Burnham's in command for this mission and Saru is kind of, I guess, the collateral or something that they're keeping. But maybe Chrissie, this would be a good time because I think you had a Chrissie's history corner about seed banks and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure, we can. I can
about
do that
that
now. All right,
Yeah.
a second. Where we go?
So that we get the perspective on seed banks before we talk about them going to seed bank ship.
Well, I don't have it's not an overall, like seed banks, seed vaults. It's a pretty straightforward thing that you squirrel away seeds for later. But there's a wonderful story about a seed vault in Leningrad during the war. I wanted to start, though, with Tikov. Okay. The ship is named after a man named Gavril, forgive me, I'm going to mispronounce this, Gavril Andrinovich Tikov, and he was an astronomer who worked for the Pulkovo Observatory at the Russian Academy of Sciences, beginning in 1906 and ending in 1941. And he got out of the city shortly before, because this is right outside of Leningrad, he got out of the city shortly before that.
Yeah.
And then ended up being a founding member of the Kazakhstan Academy of Sciences. But he is considered to be the father of astrobotany, which I couldn't...
Oh, that's very appropriate.
Yeah,
then.
exactly. It was beautiful. I couldn't find a lot of what he did with astrobotany, though, because at that point, what astrobotany is there? So somebody who's versed in this area of the history of the sciences, if you know, tell us in the chat, in the Facebook. The seed vault thing, okay. Mm-hmm. There was a geneticist and a plant geographer, which I never knew was a thing. That's a really cool title.
Wow, that's cool.
Named Nikolai Vavilov, and he set up a seed bank at the Russian Institute of Plant Industry. It's very Russian sounding, right? Institute of Plant Industry.
Yeah.
he did this starting in the 1920s, and he had this idea of cataloging all plant life on Earth and then using that knowledge to prevent famine. So you increase yields, or you rotate crops appropriately so that there's no famines. Went all around the world collecting seeds, put them all up in this seed vault in Leningrad. Okay. September 8th, of all days, September 8th, 1941, German forces begin a siege of Leningrad that is going to last for just a little over 2 years. And one of the first things you do in a siege is you cut off the food and water supplies. Okay? Because that's going to end the siege very quickly, ideally, one of two ways. Either everybody in there dies, or they surrender as opposed to resorting to cannibalism or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. This is all very dark stuff.
It is, but it's got a happy. It's got a positive kind of ending. Okay.
No, I just want to acknowledge that when we're talking about, like, you know, cutting off people's food and water so they either, you know, die or surrender before they cannibalize each other, it's terrible.
Which they didn't.
Go ahead.
they didn't surrender before that, but I'm not going to get into that with this. So
they suffered pretty horribly.
They did.
But,
that was it's a textbook siege, but also the human cost is terrible. Sorry, go ahead.
But just like the Second World War in general for the Soviet Union, they lost like a whole generation of people, like literally. So, but anyway, go ahead. I think people forget about that. Yeah, they do.
That's a whole other thing. Whole other podcast. Right. So there's a group of scientists. First of all, the Soviet government empties the university that seed bank is attached to of a lot of its artwork and some of the scientific work, and that they don't touch the seeds. They don't even think about removing the seed bank, right? So once the people who were running it realize that they're just left, okay, they also recognize that if they leave, because they're given an opportunity to leave, if they leave, then all the seeds will be eaten. Okay, so they stay, and while they are sitting in a building protecting all of these seeds, 28 of them starved to death. Okay.
Oh,
yeah. Dark. It raises the hair on my arms, right?
Where's the positive?
Here's the thing. Okay.
I mean, some of them survived.
Some of them survived. But they did this. Of course, there's not letters, but journals that were kept during the time, and there's this whole thing of they are recognizing that even if they die, even if one of them dies, if 28 of them die, this is going to save the lives of millions in the future. Okay, because these seeds will be available. And they were right, because this is what allows the USSR to feed itself after the war. They're able to take these seeds and plant them and create more of them. And
they wouldn't have been able to do that without it?
A lot of them, a lot of what they planted in the USSR was lost because it got run over by German tanks. You know, or it had been like there was a lot of the Ukraine was the breadbasket of the USSR, and you know, then Stalin committed that genocide and by allowing them to just starve to death. But in 1979, a study in the USSR showed that 80% of the areas under cultivation could trace back the seeds they were using from ones derived at that seed bank.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's the silver lining, I guess you could say.
But it also points up the importance of these things, which they are important in this episode.
Incredibly so. So this is a little microcosm of there's one seed that we need, and thankfully it's been kept, and it's just a really cool idea. If you want a better explanation than what I just gave, that's a little more fun. If you can say that. There used to be a show called Dark Matters on the Science Channel, I think it was in the early aughts, and they would take interesting historical events and do a dramatization of them. Well, the voiceover guy was one of the members of the syndicate from X-Files. and so you have this show, and they did one on the Siege of Leningrad. I'm sure it's up on YouTube somewhere. Yeah. I show that one always in my classes. But the story is just, mine was the short version, of course, but the story is just so, it's gut-wrenching, but there's, what comes out of it is just, that's the human spirit, you know, and the understanding that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Yeah. So.
Or the one.
Or the one. Or the 28.
Yeah, very much.
So
wow.
So that's
cool.
Yeah,
thank you.
That is great, awesome information. I love it.
That
Chrissy's
is that
History Corner.
Yeah, and Chris's History Corner returns. Yay! So no, that's really great. I think as background. So let's talk about this whole part because it is an important part of the episode. So as I said, and I'll just give like an overall summary, and then we'll talk about the details. So. Burnham is in command of the Discovery, which I think is actually great, and she does pretty well. And they jump over to this area. There's an ion storm. At first, I was like, "Ion storm? Are they going to the mirror universe?" No, that didn't happen. So they see an ion storm, and they find this ship, the Teakoff, and they find out that it has this seed vault. It seems like it might have what they need, but they can't get the code to unlock it because they can't find this guy who's a Barzan. It's a bit convenient. It's a ship of Barzans, but I liked it anyway because Nan's a Barzan. But so you see the ship, and his family had already died because of this radiation issue, and he's having some trouble, but he's out of phase, which they have to figure out. But then they eventually kind of find him and are able to kind of help him to understand what's going on, what the stakes are and all of that, and he helps them out, which helps to save the Keeley back at the Federation headquarters. But at the same time, it's kind of awakened in Nan this want to go back to her homeworld. And I felt like that was really interesting because it's felt like since Nan was introduced in season 2, coming from the Enterprise, Pike's Enterprise, that she's been kind of looking for a greater purpose and that she's kind of found it here. So I really like that. But anyway, that's the overall. But this whole part with the Seed Vault ship and Nan and all of that. So Katie, what did you think of like that whole storyline?
The first thing that I thought was, why did you put them all on one ship? I would have split that stuff up. Like even if you collected 4 or 5
we don't know
seeds,
if this is the only Seed Vault ship.
Oh, I hope it isn't more. Because that would have just been stupid.
But like okay, I just want to ask, since you'd looked into this, Chrissy, but like there are like seed banks on Earth, and there are different ones in different parts of the world, right? It's not just like one to try to cover the world.
There's one in Finland or Sweden, I can't remember. The one that was protected during Stalingrad is actually still there. It's got a different name now. I can't think of what it is, but it's still there.
So they're in some different parts.
Yeah, so there's different ones around, and ideally they have the same specimens or the same breeds in different places.
I got the sense, Katie, that this was just the nearest one and that there were other ones, I guess. I don't know. Although for Discovery, it doesn't matter how near it is, but they knew that it was a certain distance away.
There was one right there. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, and that was the one Burnham had heard
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Others.
Yeah. But sorry, Katie, continue. I had the impression it wasn't the only one.
I really hope it isn't, or at least if it was, now they're maybe going to split it up. Yeah. Maybe after this incident. But I like the idea of and just the architecture of the vaults, because that's something you don't usually think of. Seeds, they're kind of primitive. You have them all throughout history with farmers and everything. You still need them in the future, and having the future Federation rely on something as archaic as a seed kind of pulls back to the future Federation relying on something as archaic as Discovery. And so I thought it was a really nice tie-in that these things you don't usually think about that have been throughout history are now helping out the future, as advanced as it is.
That was beautifully poetic. I love how you put that. Yeah. I didn't make that click. Yeah, fantastic.
I have one good idea every month. Y'all just got my monthly idea.
No, but that I totally hadn't thought of it that way, that Discovery is like this archaic thing that's helping them out as well as the seeds are. I mean, I think no matter how magical like the future seems in the 32nd century, I think there are things where, like seeds and other things, that they can use as a guide, or that can be like a helpful shortcut to really get to what you need, right? Which we see in our own world. I mean, I think there's a lot of things in terms of, research and even how things are designed that are based on what's in the natural world, because there's been, millions and billions of years of evolution to get to something, and you can learn from that, right? So I think it's a beautiful idea.
Well, I will stop while I'm ahead.
No, keep going.
So Chrissy had her one nitpick on the time thing. So my one nitpick is, so like Burnham's like, we had this thing in 2258 and this ship had seeds from across the whole galaxy. That's crazy that they were able to get across the whole galaxy in 2268 and then explore the Federation and everything later on.
Yes.
I think there are different times in Star Trek where they talk about like the galaxy when they really mean a portion of the galaxy.
They do.
I think it's just like a poetic way of
It's the same as the World Series.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
In which two countries can send teams, yeah.
Okay, so I really like this, but because I liked the plot, I liked the solution, I liked how it was this, not EMP, what was it, CME?
Yeah.
The CME, the coronal mass ejection, which I know is probably coming from our friend Aaron McDonald, who's the science advisor. But yeah.
But I didn't get, okay, so at the end when Addis is like, I want to stay, and they're like, no, we're not letting this guy stay. Right, because he's sick. Like,
and they want to cure.
Cure him, and it's like, well, okay, so this guy just had some radiation a little while ago, and they're here, and they've only got like 3 hours to spare to create a vaccine for whatever this people are sick, whatever you call it, but they can't cure this guy for the radiation, have him stay, and so then that results that the only solution to this is for Non to stay. Like, yes, she makes the decision, but it's like, I don't know, that felt really rushed for me for her to make this decision, to want to stay. I want to leave the ship and do this thing. And that's my decision, and we're all going to cry about it now. So.
I mean, it seems like it's crystallized in this episode, but I felt like this is something that's been building since Non first appeared, and maybe it's just the way that the actor plays it or whatever, but I've felt like she was looking for a purpose, and she's finally able to find it, and she hasn't really seen the people that she knew, and she hadn't been to the Barzan homeworld before she left. For me, it felt like, okay, because sometimes in life you just kind of come to a decision for something that can change the rest of your life, and you can do it in an instant. I've done it many times. So for me, I don't know, it just felt like, yes, that is something that could happen.
So, but what the impression that I'm getting from this, and I hope I'm wrong, is that this is the last time we're going to see her.
I don't think this is the last time.
Yeah, she's definitely coming back. She's an ex machina waiting to happen.
So, like, I don't know.
It's going to come back at the climactic battle.
I will leave that
open. Coming in.
Yeah, she comes in with Saru's sister and Laurel. I get it. Okay, it'll be fine. I hope we see her again. I do. But the way that I got this is like, this is done with this character, and so
I mean, this is goodbye for now.
Okay,
but I don't think it's forever.
If that's the case, so let's pretend for a second that this is it. Right now, it's like, okay, well, it hasn't built up enough for me to be like, okay, fine, she's gone now. You know, like I said the other week that I'm loving this character a lot, and she was one of my favorite parts of the second episode this season. But now, she hasn't done much this season, so for her to be just gone is like deflating to me.
Okay, I saw it a different way. I thought the way that they portrayed it and the way that she was talking about it and the conversations that she was having with Burnham, I thought it was kind of a beautiful way of finding a purpose and doing something that she's been wanting to do for a while. Sure, it wasn't completely revealed that way before this episode, but for me, I felt... And I think the actor Rachel Ansherell played it really well. Like, she looked so genuinely happy. Like, this is what I want to do right now. And it's not going to... I mean, I don't know how long it'll take her to get to the Barzan homeworld and complete this watch and whatever, but I think she'll be back. But even if she wasn't, for me, it felt satisfying. Like, okay, it feels good because... Like, I mean, you could have taken the tact of like, okay, let's kill off this character or something. But I like that they didn't do that. And it was like the goodbye is doing something that's going to make her really happy to be doing it.
Exactly.
So anyway, that was my impression.
For me, it was kind of like looking at someone who has been unsettled and detached. Like exactly what you said, like she doesn't know her purpose. And I think after what the entire world's been through with COVID, you know, that floating feeling, that unsettled feeling. If we had one thing that just sparked all of a sudden in your life and you're like, I'm going to put all of my energy into that. Like, of course that would make us happy. Like, if you feel safe and you feel like you have a purpose away from all of this gunk that you just don't know what to do with, I can totally reasonably see that happening. So I was okay with it.
Yeah. I mean, and also being in the 32nd century is very unsettling. All the people you've ever known have died. You don't know what the state of things but she's seeing on this ship, at least from, like the holographic records and all of that, like, okay, these are like the people that I knew. This is something I can hang on to. This is something that I can feel more familiar with. And that's the way that she's going. That's her finding her familiarity and what she wants to do in this very different time. I think she's seeing like that has been constant, and she feels like she's going to find that when she gets to the homeworld. So,
yeah,
Chrissy, I mean, what do you think? It worked for you?
Yeah, I mean, it almost felt like she didn't want to be on the Discovery in the first place, but stayed.
She was doing it out of a sense of duty to Arium, I think, is what she was saying, to stay into the future.
So, it's that jump. It's like, okay, I've done this thing. Now what am I going to do? And I guess that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about all of the other people on the ship. There's going to come a point where there's go, well, why did I do this?
Depending on what they find out there, right? Or maybe they'll find the purpose of putting together the Federation, and that'll be good enough. But yeah, I mean, I think they're trying for some of these characters to show that there is something unsettling and that they're trying to to find what they want to do.
It also sounded like she was trying to atone for the disappointment that her parents had about her going into Starfleet.
About her going into Starfleet.
You almost get the impression that she hadn't talked to them since, or there was a very strained relationship, because like Culber asks her, when was the last time you heard your own language? And she hadn't in a very long time. So, there's atoning by making sure that like she says, the Barzan time in that seed bank is properly completed. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Since we're talking about the Barzans on the ship, I wanted to point out something really cool, I think, that Trekcore pointed out. So the guy whose family has died and that they see is Dr. Addis. And Addis is the name of the Phrygian god of vegetation in Greek mythology, which is really cool. So it's very appropriate. Cool. Anyway, I just like when they do stuff like that. So, okay. I mean, I thought it was, like, at first, I think the first time I watched the episode, I was like, maybe they're doing things a little fast, or I'm not sure where this is going, but I really liked it, especially on a rewatch. But anything else we want to say about the Tikov and Nan and that mission?
I tweeted out to Trekcore, and I didn't get a response. I was kind of hoping for a response. In the hologram when the kids were playing with the plant, was that a Gertrude? From the Man-Trap?
Yes. Original series.
I think it was.
I saw someone else made that connection. I think, oh gosh, I'm going to have to go back and look at it. It was on Twitter somewhere.
Oh, maybe it was my tweet. I don't know. I tweeted out the picture of the both of them, and I'm like, is this a Gertrude? So it looked like a Gertrude to me. I don't know whatever the plant is called.
Cool.
But
I think it was.
It's funny, while you were looking at the plants, I was like, are they playing cards? That's what I was thinking. But...
And I'm sitting there thinking, why is a hologram of dead people running? No.
Yeah. 3 hours ago, Trekcore had tweeted out something about could this plant aboard the Tikov be related to or a reimagining of Sulu's pet plant, Beauregard from the Man-Trap. So.
They stole my tweet.
I was about
they
to
stole
say
it from you. Yeah.
Trekcore stole my tweet.
There we go. But like, yeah. So when that first came up, Chrissy, for the holograms, I was like, what's going on here? I don't know if it was something that just happened to be running or they triggered some log or something.
Yes, I was being a little facetious. But...
Okay. Let's keep going. Now we're going to come to the part that I've made Brandon wait for like an hour to talk about, right?
You've been waiting for 7 weeks.
What's another hour? For almost last. So, as listeners might know from last week, Brandon was super excited about David Cronenberg being in this episode because I guess he's one of your favorite directors and he acts in some stuff. Tell us more about Cronenberg and why he's the best.
I love David Cronenberg. I think he's a fantastic movie director. And I've said this before. When I think of what a movie feels like, when I'm watching something that feels like a movie, David Cronenberg captures that feel like every time. I love his work. He's got some crazy movies. You know, he did the Fly remake. He did Naked Lunch. He did Dead Ringers. He did A History of Violence. He did Eastern Promises. He did Crash, not the one about the racism, but the one about the sex after you get in a car accident. That one.
Those are two wildly different stories.
Those are two wildly different stories. Yes. He does a lot of he does a lot of sex and a lot of body violence and stuff like this in his movies and stuff like that. But I love him. He's a fantastic movie director.
I have to ask, is he known for his big glasses? Because he definitely
those are his glasses. Like he wears glasses like that. Yeah. So, which I do want to talk about. Now, the first thing I want to talk about here. So, you know,
before we go any further, I know I'd mentioned Cronenberg, but basically we're talking about him because he is this character that's debriefing Giorgio.
Yes.
And in the Trek Core article, they did say, I think they reached out to CBS, and the name of the character is Kovic, Kovic.
That is way too close to another sounding word.
Kovic. So, I did want to start by saying I tweeted this out too.
32.
Okay, like, look, we're all big boys and girls, so you can handle hearing this word here. Giorgio blinking the holograms to death is horse shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was fun.
I love the scene, but that is just complete and utter nonsense. I don't know.
It was fun, but I have in my notes, why is a 900-year-old
weakness.
fault in holograms from another universe still usable?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Maybe it was deliberate so that he could just
and
talk
that
to
might
her.
be because he does know about the mirror universe and everything. So
The mirror universe, it seems like.
Could be a lot of thought
Sorry,
just
go
for
ahead.
a funny joke.
I love this scene
fine.
a lot. It was really neat to watch the two of them go head to head. And like so many people are talking online that they think that he's going to be a part of the current Section 31. And I'm like, I totally buy that. I totally agree with it. All I want to see right now is a Section 31 show with Michelle Yeoh, David Cronenberg, and Linus. That's all I want. Okay.
that would be so good.
But,
I had a different thought. Instead of Section 31, what if he was also from the mirror universe?
I had that thought initially, but he seems to know a lot about the mirror universe, and he tells. I really like this, but he tells Giorgio, like, the Terran Empire fell centuries ago, which is a reference to finding out in DS9 that the Terran Empire kind of fell. But then he says there hasn't been a crossover in 500 years.
That was really
which
interesting.
Would be like 26 something. So there's been something since then where they found out more information. So, like, either he's just kind of an aficionado for this stuff, or he looked up all this when he found out that Giorgio was there, or I don't know if he would be from the mirror universe, though. The thought crossed my mind, but I was like, I don't know if they would go there. And there's people secretly crossing.
Imagine if he was just in some, as Star Trek does, like some sort of accident, and as a child, and so he's trying to find answers from this place where he came from, but he has no idea what it is. So that would account for his, I guess, wanting to know more.
And the glasses.
But, I don't know. And the glasses.
The glasses could be.
He's allergic to retinas.
Well,
yeah. No. They
see,
could,
with
they
the
could be
glasses.
for brightness.
There you go.
Maybe. I don't know if they'll go there. See, when I saw the glasses and he was like adjusting them, I thought he must have some Section 31 spy tech in his glasses.
Okay, so if you want to jump in, so I had this crazy theory on this whole shebang.
I've been looking forward to hearing
and
this.
I thought it was something that nobody else was going to see, but I have seen a few other people like tweet on it here. So with this whole scene and with Giorgio talking to the holograms and being like, maybe you're a person programmed to think you're a hologram. And with that final scene that we get with Giorgio, I think Giorgio's been replaced with a hologram.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I think that he was like scanning her with his glasses because they made a show of watching him grab his glasses, right? So he was definitely doing something with his glasses. Him wearing the glasses is more than just him wearing the glasses because he thinks they make him look good.
Okay.
He was test running.
So do you think your Giorgio hologram theory will be more successful than your Rios hologram theory?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. So my Rios hologram theory, I was absolutely certain on, absolutely didn't play out. But I've also never been more certain of a theory than when I was certain that the reason they were going to get out of the mirror universe in season 1 was because the tardigrade was going to come to the rescue. I totally thought that was going to happen.
I did
and
too.
They didn't do that.
Yeah.
So you're not alone on
It
that.
happened in an alternate universe. So like that's interesting because I hadn't seen that theory, and when I saw Giorgio after this debriefing just kind of standing in the hallway, just kind of out of it, my thought didn't go to hologram. My thought went to, like, has he brainwashed her in some way? Has he done something to her that she's adjusting to? But I guess I could see hologram. But okay, so what would be the advantage of creating a Giorgio hologram?
That the people on the ship don't know that she's gone, and he's like interrogating her hardcore.
And the hologram is collecting information for him, finding out who that person is that she cares about on the ship.
Yeah, which is
leverage.
So
all about leverage.
So do you,
no leverage, potentially.
But you still think he's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's created this hologram, but he's still part of Section 31. Is that your thought?
Could be. That was my thought. And the only thing that throws one of two things, it either disproves my theory or completely validates it, is the fact that all the holograms have this weird echoey tone to their voice.
Yes.
They do.
And so you're probably not supposed to think that because Giorgio doesn't have that echoey voice. But then it's like this extra special, better hologram 8.0 or whatever.
See,
right? So
we were talking about this before, and Jason thought that everybody's a hologram except for the Admiral and Tall. Okay, that they have all programmed them to run this, and then we were kind of maybe not. You brought up the thing about the voices, but then it occurred to me they don't all have to be holograms to be artificial.
Mm-hmm.
So. Maybe
I don't know. Maybe, but I feel like we're making this maybe too complicated, and it's simply that he's done something to rattle her or brainwash her to try to recruit her into Section 31, and they're both going to go over to that series, which will make you super happy.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to love it. He better direct.
Now, has Cronenberg done something like that, like a recurring role in a series, or he's just little bits
here and there? So, but it's filmed in Toronto, which is where he lives. He lives in Toronto, right?
Oh, okay.
So, but I think
maybe they're filming it right now.
Oh, maybe they are. They could be. That'd be pretty fantastic.
They're listening to the podcast and just laughing their butts off. And they have no idea.
But I don't think it's that he rattled her, because she was out of it for a long period of time. It
was pretty long. But
I think.
But so what? I mean, what would? Okay, but also why is she standing in the middle of a corridor? Right? Presumably, she got on the ship, walked to there. Why just stop in the middle of a corridor? That. I don't know why.
I don't know either.
Part of me wants to think that by him telling her it's been 500 years, maybe because when she joined Discovery after the Mirror Universe, you're already disconnected. It's fine. But then when you travel to the future, it's like, oh, I've already been disconnected. This means nothing. It's whatever. And then you hear that your universe is gone too. That could just make her rip it from her.
She was already hoping to go back, and now she can't.
It takes away that possibility
that
you could even potentially go back. It takes her escape away, because now she's trapped.
The Giorgio at the end doesn't blink until she finally acknowledges Michael. The second time I watched it, I made a point of being attentive to that.
Okay.
And I think that might be important.
And was there a harmonic component involved in that blinking?
She blinks once. Because Michael's talking to her, and she's just standing there blank-faced. And then she blinks once and looks at Michael and says, "Why would you ask me that?"
Okay, now I'm thinking of something else, because there's this whole conversation they have, and Giorgio says the weakness of people is generally other people. And I think then, this guy Kovic is kind of I think I know who that is. It's Burnham. So I don't know if there's some agenda related to Burnham. I mean, we could speculate all we want. We could all be wrong. I don't know. But they're definitely there's something going on with Giorgio that's different, or that's going to lead in some way to the Section 31 show. But we don't quite know what it is.
I just copied my tweet and responded to TrekCore and said, "Hey, I thought the same thing a day ago."
Savage.
You will probably not get a response to that.
All of a sudden, tweet hidden.
It's hilarious.
They'll backdate it.
Great. So yeah, I thought their interaction was really, really great, and I know you looked forward to it all week, and I think you were happy, Brendan, because we thought maybe it'd be 30 seconds.
It was pretty significant. Yes. The scene was fantastic. I loved it. It was really, really, really cool. I love that Kovic was totally. He almost had the upper hand over Giorgio, which was really interesting, because he knocked her he knocked her off her game when he let her know that the Terran Empire was gone. And he knocked her off her game when he let her know that the universe has started to diverge even more after she left. You know, like, she was rattled by that. And then for him to be saying, look, I got questions for you. She's like, well, I'll answer your questions if you answer mine first. He's like, no, you won't.
And she's like,
yeah, you're right.
No, I won't.
So, I don't know. It was a really
great,
cool scene watching these two really intelligent, manipulative people go head to head.
Oh, yeah.
So, I loved it.
Exactly.
However, again, I'll say it again, the blinking was just nonsense. Blinking the holograms into oblivion was just nonsense. So,
I loved it.
It was fun.
Okay.
Nonsense can be fun.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. So let's talk about one other thing, which is that when Burnham is on this like seed vault ship, she hears this music that she'd heard from Adira and that Adira had gotten from Sanatal. And it seemed like when she's talking to Lieutenant Willa at the Federation headquarters, lots of people have heard this music, and she's trying to figure out like, what is the connection here? I feel like they're setting up somehow some kind of connection to the burn, but I couldn't quite tell. So Katie,
I think it's pretty obvious that it's going to be something connected to the burn or connected to the person who caused it.
Great music makes dilithium explode.
Oh, no. It was the resonance.
It's just thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I don't know why. Just my general being is not a fan of this music being the central thread that connects it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. We'll see.
Right. It's not necessarily that the music has importance. I think it's kind of the connection among people in like widely disparate places and why they should know that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Brandon, like, what did you make of it?
So the first thing I did when I was listening to it, I'm like, is that all along the watchtower?
Perfect.
Chrissy got it.
No.
So here we go, right? Like, so this is our second thing that I'm like, okay, Battlestar Galactica people. So we had what I said last time with the Baltar and Six relationship with Adira and Gray. And now we got this music that everybody can hear and know, which they did in Battlestar Galactica to reveal this, some spoilers. I'll pause to reveal some Cylons, right? So,
I haven't seen most of it, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Put the headphones back
You're
in.
safe. You're safe.
Back
It's all
in,
right.
yes. But, so, like Katie here, I'm like, this just doesn't, this seems silly. This music is going to be so important. And like, this music is going to be the answer to recreating dilithium or something like that.
You play it backwards and it all reforms.
Yeah, you play it backwards and line it up with Wizard of Oz.
Come on, guys.
You know,
I mean, let's see what it actually turns out to be, or maybe it could have a connection to something else.
Something about this music is going to have a code in it, and this will recreate dilithium or something like that. That's my theory.
I think it's going to turn off all the holograms. Because I think they're all holograms.
But if everybody knows it and they're hearing it and humming it, they would have been turned off already.
Playing it backwards or something. Just to invoke what you said earlier.
The music has a message about why the burn happened, and it was distributed through the mycelial network everywhere.
I actually do have
let's see.
Two things I want to say about this, okay? Because when I'm sitting there watching it, and Jay turned to me and he goes, "What's going on with this music?" And I said, "Well, it was a big hit a year before the burn, you know." And I say that jokingly,
it was a galactic hit.
Think about songs that are, let's not say universally familiar, but half worldwide familiar. Like, I'm trying to think of Ode to Joy. Yeah. I mean, everybody kind of knows the Ode to Joy thing. I'm not going to even try. And so that's something that is like, what's-her-face said, it's in the ether, right? You know, so it could just be trying to throw us off. All right. And if that's the case, if it is something from before the burn like that, that actually is a very poetic connection to Saru's invoking the Renaissance, because of the idea of we've lost.
Ooh, talk about the Renaissance.
Yes, I have a bit. I'm not an art historian, so but yeah,
okay.
But yeah, invoking the Renaissance with the idea that there has been this period where we are so focused on survival that the arts have practically died out. And this is this piece of music that's left over because we haven't created anything new. So, you know, I might be overthinking it, but...
Oh, no, I like that. But this is your chance now to do the second part of Chrissie's History Corner.
Chrissie's History Corner, part 2. Where's my paper? All right. So, first of all, nobody calls it the Dark Ages anymore. Don't call it the Dark Ages. It wasn't a Dark Ages. It's the medieval era. Don't call it the Dark Ages.
I thought about that too.
He was making a point.
Face.
Yeah. He was making a point. But that is a I go to a conference of medievalists in Kalamazoo at Western Michigan University every year.
No way.
Oh, it's fun.
I know someone who goes to that too.
You do? Okay.
I do.
Who? I gotta ask.
His name's Connor. He's just...
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. We'll talk later. Anyways, but this is... Invariably, this comes up in at least one session over the weekend, if not more. And some people actually write papers about, why is it still considered the Dark Ages? And it's quite interesting, but that comes from the whole thing when Petrarch was trying to make it look like everybody before him was stupid. And so...
Yeah, it was an interesting choice because they could have just said, medieval Europe or something.
Yeah, or the era before the Renaissance, or no, it was, they used that to make a point, and I think that may, because the Byrne post Byrne universe is a dark place in a lot of ways, so I think that was intentional.
Okay.
I'm just, the medievalist in me is like, anyway. So as I said, I'm not an art historian, but I did look up a bit. Giotto is a Florentine artist. His full name is Giotto di Bondone. Okay. And he lived from 1267 to 1337. So he's actually pre-Renaissance by about 50 or so years, 75 years, give or take. So solidly in the Dark Ages, but whatever.
The what? Exactly. I didn't recognize that term.
He's probably best known for a set of frescoes that he did in the Scrovegni Chapel in Padua. I'm mispronouncing that, and my Italian family is going, no. But he did a 37 panel Life of Christ that goes around the chapel, and it starts with the first panel. And
these are tall panels, right?
Well, I don't know how big they are. I didn't look at how, but they go around an entire chapel, so they got to be pretty decently sized. And it starts with the Virgin Mary's childhood, and then ends with the resurrection. He's credited with work in a lot of other places that are quite well known, but as I said, not an art historian. Perspective's important, though.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Very cool. When I was thinking about this and I saw he was referencing Giotto and like the 3-point perspective and how important that is, I was thinking is he giving a very like Eurocentric point of view that it was that important for world history, or was it actually that important? I mean, I guess from what I've read, yes, it was that important, but it I don't
not
know.
World.
But also
Europe.
Yeah. But I mean, also like when you're talking about like this Dark Ages, I mean, I think also like there were a lot of things that were difficult in Europe, but there were a lot of places all across the rest of the world that were flourishing at the time. So it's very like centered on what was happening in Europe. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. So, but it is interesting that he was talking about that, and he's almost Saru is comparing what's been happening to. I mean, I think it's not like everything is terrible and chaos. It's more just like things have fragmented and there's been a certain like stasis, right? And things, and that what they're doing can help them to, as he says, like look up and maybe put it back together and move forward finally. So I thought it was interesting to put it that way. So, but I did like I did like him talking about the importance of looking up, because it feels like, especially this year, there's so many things that get us down. Right, and it's nice to like look up toward something better. So anyway, I thought it was a nice way to end it. And thank you for giving the history on that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Giotto, that's cool. Yeah,
you're welcome. Thanks for the chance.
Yeah, appreciate it. So let me see. There was a ton of canon connections that I want to talk about, but before we talk about that, are there any like parts of the episode that haven't covered that you guys want to talk about?
I'm good. I'm spent. I think we did a good job of this.
Okay.
As my little nitpicks aside, I really love the episode, and I thought the episode was fantastic. Yeah. And once again, I mean, home runs every week this season, So it's awesome. I'm really looking forward to this. What is it now? We're just done 5, so it's at 8 more left.
Yeah.
So
2 more months of stuff.
Did anybody
Go ahead,
notice
Chrissie.
that the doctor Eli was wearing a bow tie?
Yes.
I
Yes.
saw that. He's
Totally
wearing like a
random,
white bow
but
tie. It's
that
very
was
cute.
Please tell me this is a Doctor Who reference. Please tell me.
Oh,
I need my fandoms
of
to
course
converge.
it is.
Oh, yeah, I'm sitting here
Could be.
looking at my Star Trek Pop Funkos right next to my Doctor Who Sonic screwdrivers. I'm like, get married, make a baby hologram. Like, come on.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it could very well be.
Yes. I love it.
So as often happens, I have like a fairly lengthy list of canon connections I'm interested in, but let's go around. Like if I know we've talked about some of them, like the Voyager J and the Nog and all that kind of stuff. But any other things or favorite ones that you noticed, Katie?
I haven't actually thought about it.
Okay, that's fine.
just for me, the plant. I had the name wrong. It's Beauregard, not Gertrude. I called it a Gertrude in the tweet. But it's Beauregard. Yeah.
Isn't Gertrude the one
I love
from Little Shop of Horrors?
Is that Little Shop of Horrors? Okay,
Was it? I don't know. So I've never seen Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh,
that was in my mind when you said Gertrude. I was like, is that Little Shop of Horrors? Okay, that'd be weird. But Chrissie, did you have any others before I rattle
No,
off my list?
I think we covered
there was
the
a lot in
ones
this
that
one.
were standing out to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's hear your list. I love your list.
So, yeah, I mean, so one of the things that stood out to me was they're talking about all these different kind of ships, like there are organic ships and holographic ships and detached nacelles, which is really cool. But they also talk about one with neutronium hull plating, which is cool. I mean, you see references to neutronium all over the place, but that's originally from the TOS episode Doomsday Machine, so that was cool that they've finally figured out how to do that in the Federation. So also, when you go into the kind of Starfleet headquarters, there's this hologram that seems to have all of these references and things. They're taking stuff directly from Larry Nemecek's Stellar Cartography book, which is awesome. And it had a ton of references on it. So it includes things like things that you see in Voyager in the Delta Quadrant, like the Ankari homeworld, Okampa, the Kazon Clan Forum, whatever that might be, Talax, the Devore homeworld, the Silverblood Demon Planet, and there's also like different parts in the Alpha and Beta Quadrant, like the Vault system, which is from the Perfect Mate, Cardassia Prime, Zetar, Earth, Argus, Tellar, Delta, Corcoroli. Like there was a whole bunch of like different like references just in some of those quick shots. It also talks about the Founders homeworld, and it has like the 4 homeworlds that they've had, so I guess they've moved around a bit. It does make me think, like, they reference all this stuff, and like, are we going to see some stuff that ties into that? Like, you know, what's the Dominion up to? I don't know. We'll see.
I don't think so.
The other thing, when they go over to the Seed Vault ship, they have like this holographic helmet that kind of helps them to breathe. And I think the Trek Core article pointed out that's kind of reminiscent of the life support belts, the force fields in the animated series, which I love. Yeah. Let me see what else. I think that when they talk about detecting some of the Orion and Andorian ships, it's in the Sigma Dacronus system, which is from Spock's brain, which is awesome.
It just makes it more like it's... Oh, no.
I think Spock's brain is a really fun episode. But anyway.
If you don't like Spock's brain, you have to go find Swear Trek, his version of it. And then you will appreciate it.
I'll give that a shot.
Yeah. I also really liked that when Kovic is talking about stuff in the Mirror Universe, he references the First Contact kind of style scene in A Mirror Darkly, where Zephyr Cochrane kills the Vulcan. So that's cool.
I tweet that picture every April 5th.
I know you love that, and
order ship, take everything. I tweet that every April 5th. That's my First Contact day. Okay,
so I think I said there was something that reminded me of the motion picture, and it was the scene in the shuttle bay where you have a bunch of the crew that Saru's talking to. It kind of had that kind of feel to it because there's a bunch of them there that he's talking to. They also talk about something in the ships that they see at the beginning that seems like Constitution class. Like, okay, I didn't really get a good look at that, but they made some reference to that.
Yeah, I think they said, is that new Constitution class?
Is that a new Constitution? Oh, no, let's go over here. So, let me see. And I think it's cool also that you find out that Kaminar and the Barzan homeworld joined the Federation at some point, so that's cool. And 350 planets, when they talk about that, I think the reference you get before that in the 24th century is 150 planets in the Federation, so that's actually substantially more. And I think we have gone through my entire list, so thank you for listening. But there was just like a ton of things in here, and I just kind of loved seeing all
Before
that.
we go past that, I want to say, because you said, I didn't mention that I didn't notice that the Dominion was on that map. And
at least the Founder's homeworld.
But that does bring to mind that the Bajoran wormhole is one of the ways we went back and forth. And there's all sorts of interesting time travel-ish kind of stuff around that. So we may see Bajor.
It's... well, I would love that. I've said before the Bajorans are my favorite species in Star Trek, so I'd love to see any.
Really?
But like yes, really. We can talk about that another time. But when I first saw like the kind of comm badge that they have in the 32nd Century Starfleet, it is kind of reminiscent of what you see for the Bajoran symbol for Bajor. So I thought that maybe I would have something to do with that. It hasn't yet, but I would love that. But yeah, Brandon, we'll talk sometime about why the Bajorans are my favorite species.
We really are so different, because my favorite species in Star Trek is the Cardassians.
Oh, perfect.
Cardassians are not too far behind, because they're pretty great. But...
the dysfunction's back. It's good.
Yeah, the Cardassians and mirrors and stuff from Cochrane. That's fine. Okay, so anyway, we've gone through all of that. So I guess let's kind of wrap it up with some final thoughts. So, Katie, kind of your final thoughts about this episode?
I really like the direction that they're taking with these, not only this episode, but the past few episodes where it's episodic. Because that's been my biggest critique of Discovery, is it's so just overarching, arched. You have to watch all the episodes in order unless you've seen them before. This feels like a return to form in a way that counts. It's not just Easter eggs. It's not just adding in a fun little name here or there. You are actually going back to basics. And with the amount of, I don't want to say hatred in the fandom, but the division in the fandom, this is almost like a way to be like, listen, guys, we're doing our thing now. We aren't stuck back in between series. We have our own time now. This is our time. And we're doing it this way. And I think this was just an episode that it works as a great invitation to people who might not have given Discovery a chance, because they think it's so just, it's a tardigrade. Hooray. Like, this is a great way to be like, no, guys, listen, we're doing to a seed fault and it's going to be great. And like, it just sounds Star Trek-y. And I love it.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And someone could just jump in season 3 and be like, yeah, some stuff happened before, but here we are now in the future, right? Like, and I think, as I've said before, like, Discovery's done a really interesting thing where everything actually seems like a prologue. The first 2 episodes of the first season were like a prologue to seeing the Discovery and what happens. And then what happens in the first season is kind of a prologue to the second to the third. And what we're doing now feels like it's a prologue to like bring back the Federation together. So I like that they kind of keep moving things around, But yeah, I think you're right. It is kind of more episodic, and I kind of try to see how people feel about it. And I think for season 3, it's been kind of more on the positive side overall than some of the other seasons. There have been fans like me that have just kind of loved the different seasons, but others have been like, not so much. But this one has felt like more of a, something that's for more people, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's really interesting. So, Chrissie, final thoughts?
This is great. I'm looking forward to more. I think I said everything else. We're 2 weeks away from Unification 3, whatever that is.
Oh, I'm looking forward to Unification 3 like nothing else.
So this is that's my David Cronenberg. but it's week after next. So
yes,
they dropped a hint today. StarTrek.com posted an article about Spock and unification.
I saw they had something about like the dream of reunification. Like,
So that's not final thoughts about this episode, I guess, but that's what I'm thinking about right now.
Just go ahead 2 weeks, but I'm thinking about that too. Brendan, any other thoughts?
No, my last 2 comments here are, so I did a poll, and I said, are Oasakin and Detmer a couple? And I got 387 votes, and we had 57% said yes, and 43% said no. So there's a lot of people who are seeing what I'm seeing.
I voted yes on that poll.
Pardon me?
Because I think I voted yes on that poll.
Yeah.
Because it kind of seems like it. I mean, at the same time, it could just be a very close friendship, but it's interesting to think about.
And then if you go to my Twitter feed, that promotional photo of George Yu and Cronenberg, Yo and Cronenberg, they were sitting there. Cool. I tweeted out, what band is this? And if you want to go find it, there's a lot of really fun answers on there. So because it was just them just standing there. And so it was a pretty fun thread, and a lot of people got involved, and it's still going, and people seem to have a lot of fun with it. A lot of people were like Blink 31 instead of Blink 182, right? Because with George Blinken, and then somebody called it like a lot of people said the Eurythmics and things like that, and so so somebody made a play on Gold Frap and they called it Gold Warp, which is like so some really fun answers. It was a lot of fun, so check it out. Yeah. But is it Thursday yet?
Yeah, really.
I know it's I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, final thoughts. Loved it. Loved all the references. Seeing the Federation. Looking forward to more. So what else can I say? So Katie, thanks so much for joining us for the discussion today. We really appreciate it. So tell us, where can listeners find you online, and maybe tell us about any upcoming fandom forecasts you have planned?
So if anyone's interested in learning anything about weather or just following the journey of fandoms, you can find me on Twitter at weather_Katie. Don't know how that wasn't taken before I got to it, but it wasn't. And also I am on YouTube. I'm So Many Fandoms. It's the one with the SMF logo, not the one with the anime logos, because that is not my field yet. But yeah, you can find my fandom forecast and all my fun work on there. And as I alluded to earlier, I did just film a fandom forecast for the first time since June. And it was today. And if any of you are fans of the show Animaniacs, instead of Nations of the World, I'm doing Forecast of the World, and I forecasted for every capital of every country in the world. Kill me. It was God. I've been working on this for months. You have no idea.
Katie, there's a lot of countries. There's more than 200
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, and I learned the entire song, the extended version too, and I sing it while doing the forecast. That's how into this I got.
Wow, I need to see that.
Yes, so it should be dropping sometime soon. So you guys can find that on my Twitter, on my YouTube. Awesome. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I love the Animaniacs too, so that's cool. So, and maybe at some point after season 3, you can do like a 32nd century weather forecast.
Oh, heck yes.
That would be awesome.
I just have to get the uniform.
Yeah. Right. We didn't even talk about the 32nd century uniforms. Maybe we'll talk about that another week.
We'll have time.
I like them. But yeah, thanks again, Katie. We really appreciate it. So, Brandon, where can people find you when you're not daydreaming about more Cronenberg in your Star Trek?
You can find me getting really close into your face, Justin, asking you, are you prone to emotional exaggeration? Which, yes, Michael Burnham is.
Yeah.
Get away, Eli. Stop it.
You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Matella. You can find me over on the Fandom Podcast Network with a show called Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast, where me and my friends, Chris and Tom, go through all of Hitchcock's films in chronological order. On the Nerd Party Network, I have a House of Fincher. We're waiting for Mank to come out, and then we will be proceeding on to House of Nolan and doing Christopher Nolan's work. And then you can also find me here on this network with a show called Franchise Fatigue, which goes over movies, remakes, and sequels. And while we are just wrapping up the releasing of our Planet of the Apes episodes, Zach and I have begun recording our episodes on The Thing from Another World, The Thing, and The Thing. So,
if you ever do one on Twister, if they ever make it to the Twister reboot that they've been talking about, you call me up that very second, okay?
Awesome, excellent. So, our rules though, there's got to be 3, and there has to be a sequel.
We'll throw a Sharknado in there. It'll be fine.
Yeah, we determined we can't do Last Man on Earth and Omega Man and I Am Legend because those are just 3 remakes, and I was very sad. So,
if you're unhappy about it, break your own rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Break the Prime Directive. Janeway did it all the time. It's fine.
I was going to say, you know, I mean, I was watching the Voyager episode Learning Curve earlier today, and as Neelix tells Tuvok, sometimes you have to bend. So you may have to bend your rules, Brendan.
Excellent. But I guess that's pretty much it. So yeah, Twitter's the best place.
Okay, awesome. So, Chrissie, where can people find you when you're not standing in the middle of a corridor and not acknowledging anyone for a really, really long time? which you're doing right now. You're not standing in the corridor, though. You're still sitting at your desk.
Right. So okay, I am on Twitter at the Goddess Olivia, and that is spelled TheGoddessLivia. And there I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics. And you can also find my work in history by liking the webpage my fellow historian partner Jason and I run, History with the Szilagys, which is at historywiththeszilagys.org, and Szilagyi is spelled Szilagys. There's a Facebook page with the same name. That's where the liking thing comes in. And there you'll see our most recent project, Historical Musings, where we're putting together blogs discussing historical context for current events.
All right, excellent. And you can find me on Twitter. I'm at TrekFan4747, where I tweet about nothing but Star Trek. And I'm kind of envious Brandon has so many podcasts, but also not, because that's a lot of work. So you can also find me on our Facebook group, the Federation Council Chambers, where we like to talk about all of these episodes of Infinite Diversity and the other UFP podcasts. Thank you very much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Glad you've made it this far. If you have made it this far, drop us a comment and tell us why. So thank you also to our executive producers, hopefully good reasons. Thank you to our executive producers, Ken Tripp, Tony Robinson, and Zach Moore. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Tony Robinson for the awesome show art. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and please subscribe. Also, if you've gotten this far, just drop us a review. You really need to. So if you want to reach out, you can also find us on Twitter at UFP Earth for the network, or our Twitter handle of @IDIC for this podcast. We also have a Facebook group that I mentioned for UFP called the Federation Council Chambers, and just go ahead and join that group. So I'm really losing it.
It's okay.
So you can also email us at infinitediversity@ufp.earth. On the next episode, we'll be talking about next week's Discovery episode, which is called Scavengers. By the way, I don't have any snacks, and I am really, really disappointed you didn't just beam some over to me, Brandon.
Sorry.
But until next week, when he ships them special delivery from Canada. Peace and long
Don't
life.
ask for special delivery. You get ketchup chips. No.
Ketchup chips are good. Okay?
Poutine special
They're
delivery.
good.
Yeah.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.